I'm a huge proponent of the bad dink drill, because in games, somebody feeds a bad dink to their partner, and then the other player will try to, speed up the ball at their partner, and then you just play it out, right? So that means that it's me and you going down the line straight on, feed the ball, and then just speed it up anywhere. Practice changing the pace, or if you do want to mix up the spot, you can mix up the spots, but that's the best way to do it. I don't think cooperative volley to volley back and forth is the best way to practice your volleys. Thank you for watching another episode of my podcast. I wish I had a better intro for this. I just say thank you for watching. I guess it's good to start with positivity, just saying thank you. I should have like some sort of like funny intro or something. I don't know. We'll just get into it. So one of the things that helps me a ton when I'm hitting speed ups, and this is something for you guys to remember also, is that when you're hitting speed ups, it's not always about changing the spot, because sometimes you're going to be playing against somebody who is very good at countering in one spot and then not very good at countering in another spot. So then it doesn't always make sense to be mixing up the spots. So if you're playing against somebody that's great at their chest and then sometimes, not so great at their wide backhand or not so great at their right shoulder, it doesn't make sense to always be speeding it up to their right shoulder, at the same pace, for example, or then just sometimes mixing up the pace between their forehand and their backhand and just trying to hit all these different spots. If you're playing against somebody who is not good at countering in one particular exact spot, then I think the best way to do it is just to always speed it up to that spot, except just change the pace. So sometimes you can hit it hard at that spot, and then sometimes you can hit it softer at that spot. And that was something that helped me a lot this year, just in the pro game, remembering that you don't always have to mix up your spots, and you don't always have to hide the fact that you are speeding up that ball. You can make it abundantly clear that you're going to hit a speed up, and you can think of it from your own perspective too. If you were playing against me and there's, an area where you are at your weakest countering, let's say you like the ball at your chest, but you don't like the ball at your right shoulder. And if you're playing against me, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's obvious that I'm speeding the ball up or if it's completely hidden that I'm speeding the ball up. If it's very clear that I'm going to speed it up, but it does go to your right shoulder, that spot that you may not like, then it's still not a situation that you're super happy about. And I think that's something that applies to all levels. If you're playing against somebody who really doesn't like the ball in one particular spot, you can speed it up to that spot over and over and over. And I think the best way to do it is actually changing up the pace. And this is a good drill, I think, to do also. If you go out there with your friend and you do the bad dink drill, which is something that I'm, a huge proponent of. The bad dink drill being somebody feeds a bad dink to their partner, and then the other player will try to, speed up the ball at their partner, and then you just play it out, right? So that means that it's me and you going down the line straight on, feed the ball, and then just speed it up anywhere or speed it up to a particular spot. That's how you practice it. I think that is the way to practice this shot, and practice changing the pace, or if you do want to mix up the spot, you can mix up the spots, but that's the best way to do it. I don't think cooperative volley to volley back and forth is the best way to practice your volleys and have better volleys. I'm a huge proponent of the bad dink drill, because in games, you don't just cooperatively volley the ball back and forth. What happens is you or your partner will hit a dink that is not perfect, and then your opponent will speed it up, and then you will have to just deal with it and try to play the point out, and that's how it works. So again, getting used to maybe doing that drill and getting used to mixing up your pace. Like for me, I feel super comfortable sometimes hitting a speed up at 70% pace, and then sometimes hitting a speed up at 90% pace. Being able to mix it up comfortably is super, super important, and something that I would highly recommend you guys getting good at. Hey guys, James Ignatowich here. Just want to tell you about the new Selkirk 008. I've been loving the paddle. It's got the new pure foam technology. It's got a ton of grit, ton of pop, feel like the control is great also, and it's coming in the different shapes. You can get it in the tour shape, you can get it in the epic shape or the Invictus shape. So you'll have all the options you need. Definitely give the OA a try, because I think it's something that you will not want to miss. And the other thing too is the best spot to hit the drive, because people are wondering, do you hit the drive right down the middle? Do you hit it to the sideline? Should you never drive cross court? People have been asking me, like, James, should I never hit a drive cross court? I'm like, okay, well, we'll just talk about the best spot to drive. And I think that if you watch the pro game, and I've seen a lot of the rec players play recently also, I've been watching it all. And for me, I think it's obvious that the best place to drive is right down the middle. If you're hitting drives right down the middle, especially at lower levels, right? In the pro game, it's a little different. In the pro game, there are going to be situations where you want to drive right to somebody's chest or to their backhand. There's different spots. But I think at the rec level, at anything of 4-5 and below is what I mean when I say that. I think driving it to the middle is my number one spot to drive. So the reason for that too is middle confusion. Middle confusion at the highest level is a lot more rare. But as you go 4-5 and below, middle confusion is huge. There's a ton of it. And I'm teaching clinics all around the country. It's not something that changes. It's not like there's no middle confusion in Florida and then there's a ton in Des Moines, Iowa. It's all over the place. There's middle confusion everywhere. And if you can, and I would say if you could find a spot where there's the most middle confusion, where middle confusion is most often taking place, it is off of drives, or it is that situation where you're hitting a fourth. So the team has just hit a return and now they're coming in and they're hitting a fourth. That is where there's the most middle confusion. So I think the way to take advantage of that middle confusion is to hit a drive directly down the center. If not, maybe hitting a drive slightly closer to the right side player. So the right side player's backhand's there. So they're kind of thinking maybe I slide, and the left side player's thinking maybe I'll take it. That could be an even better spot, because if it's right in the middle, the left side player should know that it's most likely going to be theirs. But if it's a little bit closer to that right side player, then it could genuinely be either player. You force them to talk. Maybe they both go for it. Maybe neither of them go for it. And that's why I think driving to the middle is the best spot. That middle confusion is huge. The other thing too is if you're playing with your partner and you're wanting to crash, if you're wanting to set up some sort of crashing situation, or if you want to try to be aggressive off of your third, if you're hitting a good third shot drive, then I think the best spot to set up your angles for that crash is right in the middle. Because if you do pop up the third shot, if you pop it up to the sideline, they have a lot more angles going all the way cross court. If they want to go down the line, it's a lot easier for them to then crush a fourth and really punish you for a bad third shot. But if it's right in the middle, there are not as many angles, and I think it's a lot, I would just say, more difficult for them to punish you off of a bad third shot. And that's why when you're on defense, if you're hitting resets or if you're in a tough position in general, I think the middle is the best place to put the ball. When you're back there hitting resets, put the ball in the middle. Because I've said this before, and I think it's true. I would say that you are much better off popping a ball up to the middle than you are to the sideline, especially at the lower levels where there is so much middle confusion and just lack of talking. So, and I think that actually holds true to the pro level too. But we're just going to focus on the non-pros, because I'm not actually sure there's a lot of pros that are watching my podcast, if any. I hope they're not. I hope they're not, taking in all this knowledge that I'm giving them. I doubt they are. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the third shot lob. So this was kind of funny. In Mesa, one of my students that's actually a pro now, Ryan Fu, he's probably the best representation or best walking advertisement for how good my coaching is. Not that it's, it's whatever. It's like, that's my guy that I would be using as my advertisement, because a year and a half ago, he had just started playing and he was a 4-0. And then I worked with him every day, basically just taught him the entire game. And now he's, I think, 40 in the world. He's like above a 6-0 and he's getting a ton of wins at the pro level. And so we're going to talk about one of his losses, actually. But he was playing against AJ Collar and Megan Dizon, and AJ Collar was just hitting a ton of third shot lobs. And it's funny because at the rec level, when I'm teaching these clinics, they'll ask me, like, James, is there a place for the third shot lob? Is that something that could actually be effective? And I'm like, I don't really think so. I don't really know if the third shot lobs, at least not at the pro level. Well, I think I was wrong, because I'm watching, and Ryan Fu and his partner Angie Walker, great team. They are just, AJ is just destroying them with this third shot lob. And if you can execute it properly, I think it's actually a great play, because the player that is hitting the return is thinking, okay, I've got to run right in. And then the player at the net is already up there established. They're trying to get involved. And then it goes right over their head. So the third shot lob is something where I think maybe you should consider practicing it, because just watching it work that well at the pro level, I haven't taught it to anybody before, but that's definitely a new, interesting thing that I think might have a place at the pro level. So, or even at any level, right? If it has a place at the pro level, it's got a place at any level. A couple things with the third shot lob: getting very low, bending your knees a lot, and getting under the ball. And you've got to be imparting topspin on the third shot lob. It's got to be topspin. If it's slice, it will bounce and then it'll stay right there, and it'll be very easy for me to get the next ball. But if it's got topspin, it'll bounce and then it'll run away from your opponents as they're coming in. Another thing with the third shot lob that I think could be very, I would say, make it more effective is if you're going cross court. If you go cross court with a third shot lob, you've got an extra 5 or 6 feet of space. As I always talk about, the geometry of the court is super important, and players at the lower levels tend to know how to use it less, or even be aware of it less. So that's why I'm here to tell you. If you go third shot lob, you might want to go cross court because there's extra distance, or you might want to go over the backhand of the left side player. So I wouldn't say going over the backhand of the right side player is necessarily the best play here, because the left side player will know that it's theirs, probably, and they're going to come right over in the middle and then try to take it. But if you go over the backhand of the left side player, then that makes life a lot easier, because that left side player, when they see a lob is coming, for me at least, I'm thinking, okay, cover the middle, and if it goes over my left shoulder, it's not mine, right? Because of the X with defending lobs, and that's going to be how we end this. A quick thing: when you're defending lobs, it is not, so if the ball comes directly from in front of you, if it's straight on, if that's where the lob is coming from, then it's not yours, it's your partner's. So it's like the opposite. And if the lob is coming from the person that is in front of your partner, then it is yours. So I don't know if they can call this the X or the V. I don't really have like a specific name or thing to call this, but just it is as simple as, if the lob, unless it's super easy and you can just hit it, then you should just hit it. But if it's going over your head, then if it's coming in front of you from the person that is in front of you, so if I'm on the left and if it comes from the right side player, it is my partner's. And if my partner, whoever is in front of them, is hitting it, then it is mine. So that is something to remember. It just makes it a lot easier to cover the lob, because I have more time to get it if it's coming over my partner's shoulder as opposed to if it's coming over my own. And it also makes it so that I can side shuffle. So that is another thing. When you are defending the lob, you do not want to be backpedaling to get it. You want to turn your shoulders and you want to side shuffle. And that is a key thing if you want to get backwards quickly. If you want to know how that works, think about it this way. If you wanted to get from point A to point B behind you as quick as possible, you wouldn't be backpedaling, you would side shuffle. You can side shuffle a lot more quickly than you can backpedal. So keep that in mind. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. Leave all your questions in your comments. Shout out to Ryan Fu for a great tournament. And lastly, shout out to Max Freeman. So Max Freeman, we've talked about him before. He's one of, if not the, best prospect in pickleball right now. He's got wins over Tyson, Federico, everybody, and he's another guy that I've taught. He just signed with the PPA, so he signed with the UPA or the PPA. Great deal. He was slated to be Ben John's partner in Cape Coral. Now he's working with different partners. I think he's playing with Tyson and myself, obviously. So look forward to that. He's a lefty, and that's it. Thanks for watching.